It's time to talk about something different. Yes, I have a future plan for another Reborn video on the works, but for now I do want to give some of the fandom a chance for the sake of taking a look at fan content. I want to take this opportunity to give an equal care for the fanbase as well. I'm not just some guy who loves the series outright, but along with those people who enjoys it too. While Reborn has a lot of fan material stories to go with, the one story I'm currently reviewing is arguably far more interesting since it comes with a comic and not just a wall of text on screen. No offense. There's panels, there's new characters interacting with older characters, a plot that has a lot of depth and even a second season going on, and has a number of fans who may have been familiar with the story itself. That is if you dig a little bit deeper. I sense a lot of effort on this creator, and I want to take this opportunity to review with it the best of my ability as a Hitman Reborn fan. Now, I want to make this abundantly clear. Writing fanfictions or stories in general is not inherently a bad thing. It's not. I can understand that sometimes certain stories can be off or not really well written, but I feel as though as long as the writer knows what they're writing or they have a general plan on their sleeves, in a sense that they're willing to work hard for it, then fan stories can be done right. Fanfiction is basically a free space that can be utilized by creators or writers alike to form a universe of their own from already existing forms of media. It is a great tool for a fan to take control over their favorite work and tweak a few things to create original stories, and they can be done right as long as there's an effort in them and as long as they respect the original source material. I repeat, fan stories can be done right so long as they respect the original source material. And did the 11th family follow that rule? Well, let's find out today. The story is very much unique to its own. You might think it only gives the main focus to the protagonist, but there's actually a lot of characters to go for, including the older characters that you're familiar with in the original manga, shown to have their own spotlight too. And as a huge Hitman Reborn fan, I'm going to examine it by making a review by showcasing the content that I enjoyed and many other things that this fan story has to offer. So sit back, relax as I go on. Also, do keep in mind that the story is not monetized in any way since it's a fan comic, so you don't have to worry about all that. Link is in the description for those who want to read it. Also, I will do my best to not go into complete details of the story as I strongly urge you to read it yourself. So, with the disclaimer out of the way, I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. After 15 years of events followed by the ending of the manga, Tsunayoshi ended up becoming the 10th Vongala boss, possibly following the footsteps of Giotto himself. And we all know what was his title, Vongala Neo Primo. What he doesn't know is that there's another person who also is following his footsteps to become a Vongala boss, his and Kyoko's daughter, Nozomi Sawada. Yeah, in this fan sequel, Tsuna actually married Kyoko and has a daughter named Nozomi Sawada, who in contrast to Tsuna is actually a smart girl, often described as a tomboy in her class, but unfortunately she always gets in trouble, from being late to class and being involved in physical fights with bullies and so on. Now, it's obvious that I'm one of the few people who would openly disagree with the idea of Tsuna becoming the boss. I literally made a lot of videos and points about why he shouldn't be, and I still stand with that fact. However, keep in mind that this is a fan story. This is an entirely different interpretation altogether. And let's be fair for a second, the ending of the original manga is very ambiguous. We ourselves don't even know if he ended up as the boss or not. There is one timeline where he is shown to be the boss, but that's assuming if that timeline is even the correct one, to the one we know. So because of how ambiguous the ending was, I see no reason to be mad at the writer for this. Though I do have to point out I believe Tsuna becoming the boss in the story does have an interpretation, since it's never really explicitly explained in the fan comic why he decides to be the boss. So my interpretation of him becoming the boss must have been for the sake of following the footsteps of Gyouto, which shouldn't be out of character for him, since it is established that as long as he follows Gyouto's footsteps, he doesn't have to resort to violence, which is correct to his character. And you will see more on why I think Tsunayoshi's character in this fan comic is done very well, if not completely spot on. This fan sequel has a coming of age story element that isn't just centered upon Nozomi herself, but also everyone around her. So everybody gets an equal amount of development, whether it's from her friends, who became her guardians, and even including Tsuna himself, as we know how his relationship with his daughter grow over time. The story does take a darker turn though. For example would be Nozomi's past being revealed, characters getting injured, self-doubt, fear, evolution, self-hatred, and survival life or death situations. So this isn't just a happy-go-lucky type of story where there's no actual stakes. There's also moments in which Nozomi not wanting to be recognized as a weak girl, and many other serious moments you may encounter. It has a fascinating effect that flows well with the story and the theme that it represents. Keep in mind that this is just the first season. The second season is currently ongoing, and I don't really plan to spoil too much on it. I will say that if you enjoy the first season so far, the second season is something you might want to check out. The chapters themselves deal with a serious amount of character development and relationship chemistries with another, which to me is quite endearing as it is something that the original series often shared too with its dynamic friendship buildup, which is an extra point to me. A lot of effort has been done in these characters. One chapter I really liked was Target 7.1 and 2 respectively, as it deals with Nozomi's perspective on things and her interaction with Jun, a friend to which she was able to connect with, especially in Target 8.1 and 2 respectively. These are my personal favorite chapters as well as the conclusion of Season 1. It also has extra interesting chapters that ease the tension, which I thought was a good touch. Speaking of the characters, Nozomi can be described as a girl who has huge dreams. Once she was introduced, she's an energetic and lively, but also can be stubborn and very antisocial as a child, for the most part, seeing as how she prefers reading books rather than playing with her friends, but eventually she does put an effort to do so. For Tsuna, it didn't matter whether or not Nozomi is smart and gets good grades. He simply only wanted the better of her and lets her have friends and live a normal life. Now, this isn't Tsuna becoming a typical shonen bad father here. He just didn't want her to face the same thing that he went through in the original series. We know this because Tsuna was introduced as someone with no friends and he lacked self-confidence. Tsuna is actually taking responsibility of a father very seriously, equally protecting her away from the mafia and the Vongola, something that his own father never did for him. And not only that, but his interaction with the other newer characters is interesting to see as we get to know more about his metaphor and knowing more about Nozomi's friends. You might think Nozomi is some Mary Sue character or someone who hates her father like every other shonen main lead, but it's more like she wants to understand him because she hasn't displayed any hatred towards him. She doesn't have any negative feelings against Tsuna at all, just a little more of that understanding to know the truth of her father. At the end, she realized that he truly loved her, and it's a dynamic that works well in my opinion. And if you think she's an obvious self-insert OC in the story, you're incorrect, because she literally isn't. The characters in the story don't take her flaws well at times either. She has this tendency of not wanting to appear weak in front of others, especially for the sake of the people she cares about. She's very young, childish, and has a lot to learn about life, and can be as stubborn as most of the time. This is a flaw in her character. Not so much as in generally, I meant as a character. She may have a lot of flaws, but at least people call her out on it, and she started to learn from it. Nozomi became my favorite character for this very reason, especially when she realized that all she has done is getting others involved, the opposite to Tsuna. And as a result, ended up causing some of her friends to be in danger. This was a contrast to Tsuna in the original series, to which I've made a character analysis on. Nozomi here basically shows the reality of the situations of others being involved in the mafia and killers and realize her faults. Her admiration and admittedly strange obsession over Gyouto also had a good change to it. She stayed that way for a while until she began to change. Nozomi realized that her dream were too idealistic, but she still tried to keep it alive anyway. When Nozomi decided all she can do is fight, that's when she truly decided to really fight, to at least show her father how strong she is in order to protect people's smiles. Nozomi's only goal left is the only choice a person like her has, doing her best to realize what she's dying for and keeping people from harm. Nozomi cannot be this naive kid anymore. She has to grow up. Hence, why the conclusion of the first season was my favorite part of the fan comic, and how everything sets up for it. The story does revolve around about all the characters' lifestyle, as Nozomi herself sets to become the 11th Mongola boss with her friends as her guardians, in order for her to become the great boss. In her own words, she needs people's approval. Her guardians are as follows: Arashi Fukada as the Storm Guardian, Kaito Yamasaki as the Sun Guardian, which, by the way, sorry for the terrible pronunciations. One of my favorite characters also is Shinji Kimitaka as the Mist Guardian, Luca Lucini as the Lightning Guardian, Haname Inuya as the Rain Guardian, Cloud Velvet as, well, the Cloud Guardian, of course. Again, I really apologize for my terrible pronunciations. I hope I made it clear. What makes this very unique compared to the original 10th Mongola family is that in order for someone to become a member, not only they need the rings and flames, but they also require a specific dream that they want to achieve. All of which eventually revealed, including Nozomi herself. Shinji is the only person whose dream was not revealed. We know he has one, but it's not revealed yet, which actually makes it interesting to know what is the thing he very desires for. The dreams they all have is, well, let's just say extremely childish and naive, as they're all naturally kids. They don't seem to truly understand how threatening the mafia goes, just with anyone being involved. It's frustrating for her to get a disapproval from her parents, but as I said, it's for the sake of protecting Nozomi and everyone involved. I'll explain each guardian briefly. Most of them have their own character arc, which sets a good creation of how effective each character feel and the impact of the story. Arashi is the Storm Guardian, which, in case you're wondering, no, she's not Gokodera's daughter, but she's her own character. She is Nozomi's right-hand woman who possesses a fiery personality, which complements the Storm Flame's destructive nature. She's also known for being loyal, passionate, dedicated, and more or less a considerable sister to Nozomi in my opinion. Similarly, Haname, the Rain Guardian, is calm and kind. She always tries to find the most peaceful way to resolve conflicts and always resorts to more forceful measures if the well-being and safety for her family is jeopardized. Her calm demeanor as well as her sensibility and reliability mirrors her Rain Flames. Cloud, the Cloud Guardian, yes that's his name, may remind people of Hibari Kyoya. The difference is that, unlike Hibari, Cloud likes to show off his intelligence and he has a fascination with music. And he's arguably an even bigger asshole. I understand he has his own way of protecting Nozomi. As a character, he's fine, but I personally don't like him as much. I mean, I admit he's a good character, but you know, I don't really give up with him. Anyway, his strong preferences for independence and underlying pride reflect the Cloud Flame's ability to multiply on its own, symbolizing a solitary strength that thrives without dependence on others. Shinji has the ability to foresee the future. He is calm, collected, and he serves as the compass of the group, guiding them throughout the mist of the unknown. The Mist Flame's construction attribute complements his talent for creating illusions, often used to obscure the group's actions and avoid detection by the police or the public during their crime hunting activities. He is actually one of my favorite characters in the comic, without counting Nozomi, and I really look forward to see more how Kiralushia strengthens his character in the future. Kaito is the Sun Guardian. He's always the enthusiastic and straightforward. His cheerful and energetic personality perfectly matches the Sun Flame's ability to radiate positivity and interrogate the group. Luca is the Lightning Guardian. He's gentle, sweet, he struggles with responsibilities and prefers to goof around, yet he yearns for a loving family. He's protective of his twin sister and hates those who don't appreciate their loved ones. Although he doesn't like to fight, he would still do what he can to protect those he cares about. Though he often acts silly, he has the strength to protect his friends when needed, showcasing Lightning Flame's resilient and defensive qualities. And like Shinji, I do consider him a fan favorite as well. Plus, he kinda sounds familiar.
Looks like she has a bad relationship with her dad.
Anyway, The main objective in Season 1 of the series is to train and study the qualities of their respective flames to understand and learn how to control their weapons and abilities. That being said, despite being a fan work, it feels like a good sequel series, making good use of the world of Reborn and its canon characters such as Tsuna and his guardians. Now, I could have easily just case closed or end the video right here, but I know what some people might be thinking. Yeah, the story's nice and all, it's nice to have a fan-made Reborn story, but isn't that just basically Boruto? I mean, it has the son/daughter of the protagonist, meeting new characters, new plot, etc, etc. I have seen some people make that comparison a lot, mostly because it inspires the idea of main protagonist's offspring being involved with the same situation as the same protagonist. But you do have to keep in mind that, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people don't know about this, but the 11th Family comic actually came at the time Naruto Shippuden was about to reach its end. In other words, this actually came before Boruto. So I don't see this as a Boruto take on a Reborn fan comic. It is true, yes, there is a show that I believe that the 11th Family comic did took inspiration from another anime, besides Hitman Reborn obviously. And I'm pretty sure my beloved daughter know where I'm going with this, because of course I'm talking about Puella Magica Magica. I've mentioned this show a couple numerous times, but for whatever reason, if you haven't seen it, you honestly really should. There isn't much of a comparison to go through because it's not necessarily sharing every similar element. It's more like a small inspiration, which I thought is great because I love Magica Magica. Basically, both deal with serious themes, young characters going through their own traumas, making childish wishes and dreams in order to become who they want to be, and despite the goofiness in the start, they eventually develop into a serious journey. Despite the similar elements, 11th Family comic is unique to its own right, and rightfully so because I love what it does as a story beyond just a fan sequel. One thing I like to address as well is the art style. It didn't need it to be Akira Amano accuracy in my opinion, but hot damn, it's as good in my opinion. Actually, stating that it's quite good would be an understatement. I honestly believe it's phenomenal, and I think it's one of the things that not everyone praised about when it comes to Kiralushia in my opinion. We get to see what 10 years later Tsuna actually looks like, unlike in the original series. Oh, and the same would go for the rest of the Vangal family, and of course, Enma Kusato. Kiralushia isn't just talented, she's a legit hard worker, and that's what I love about her work and her content on this comic. The characters, the plot, etc, etc. As I said in the beginning, if a fan story respects its original source material, then here onward it's bound to be an amazing story, which I believe this fan story very much accomplished it. I'm not even gonna bother to bring scores in this because this is Red Decimo's channel, not IGN scores. The fact that it's an amazing fan sequel in itself is an automatic must-read, especially for those who are big, massive fans of Reborn like me, who likely finished the manga. It can even be considered canon for those who really enjoyed it as well as I do, which, in my opinion, it earned that type of accomplishment. I'll admit that Season 1 can be a bit too goofy and it may not appeal to everyone as much, but rest assured that Season 2 is easily enjoyable as the art style in my opinion gets even better, the story is even more insane, and so on. Overall, huge shout out to Kiralushia. I encourage huge support for the creator, and please, I also strongly encourage respect and integrity here as much as possible in case you have criticisms or you have any questions regarding the fan sequel. Once again, thank you for making me review the story, Kiralushia. Take this as more as a recommendation rather than me forcing it into you. I understand that not everyone is a fan of fan work content, but this is something especially for those people who are interested of such may need to experience it, specifically for those who finished the manga entirely. Thank you all for the kind and genuine support. It may take me a while to produce content, but ultimately, I never made it obvious that I'll be stopping. I will continue to make more Reborn content, or honestly any anime, manga, or other content I'll be making in the future. Please stay tuned for more, and I hope you look forward to them. Take care, have a great day, and see you soon.